The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. This is the story in short, very simple English, easy for you to understand. Just have patience and watch the subtitles so that you can easily understand and can get a good grade for your honors or master's exam. At the time when the city of Venice in Italy was rich and famous, one of her chief citizens was a merchant. His name was Antonio. He was well known for his kindness. He had many friends, among them a young Venetian nobleman. He was Bassanio. Although he came from a noble family, Bassanio was poor and spent more money than he could afford in order to live the kind of life he liked. Even when he was a good fellow, he was honest, but still he had a bad characteristic. Bassanio used to spend much more money. What happens when you have a great family in the past and recently you have become poor? Still you behave like a rich person. But Antonio loved him and lent or gave him money whenever he needed it. For the merchant of Venice was a rich man who owned many valuable ships, which traded with foreign countries. Now Bassanio loved a rich and noble young lady. Her name is Portia. She was the best girl I have ever seen. She has all the good qualities as a wife should have. All the good qualities. She was humorous. She was very much clever. She was very much sympathetic. She was beautiful. Every way she was perfect. She wasn't the most beautiful girl. She wasn't the richest girl, whatever. But she was a combination of all the good qualities that a woman should have as a wife. Now Bassanio loved a rich and noble young lady, and that is Portia. Her father had recently died and he left her all his money. So rich, beautiful, and clever. She was princess and noble were continually offering to marry her. It happens so for all the girls when a girl is clever, beautiful, when a girl has all the wealth as her father gave her all the wealth. She was everywhere beautiful and clever and a very rich woman. That's why the princess and noblemen are continually offering to marry her. These visitors, because they were rich and noble, they knew how to make a fine show before the lady. And by arriving at her house with expensive presents and finely dressed servants, these people are very, very rich. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're good people. When somebody behaves properly before you, that's fantastic. But sometimes what happens when you are rich, when you have everything, then people come and eulogize you. It is just because they want to gain something from you. It's not because they love you or like you or they have come to help you. But Bassanio was poor. He could not afford to buy fine presents, and he was afraid that the lady would not like him because he was poor and so would refuse to marry him. So Bassanio was afraid. He lied to her. That was something very special in Bassanio, even when he was an honest man. But still, he tried his best to get captivated, make Portia captivated by him. So Bassanio went to Antonio and told him his difficulty. The lady, he said, seems to enjoy my visits, and I think she might be willing to marry me. If only I could make myself look as rich as the other visitors. Would you help me to do this, Antonio, by lending me 3,000 ducats? So it's talking about 300,000 ducats, that's Italian ducats. I'm always ready to help you, Bassanio, said Antonio. Antonio's been always very friendly to Bassanio. He's been very kind. But one thing is important here is that Antonio was good to good people, but he was very bad to bad people. You see, Shylock, he was a very bad person, and that's why Antonio could not tolerate him. He even went furthest to spit in his face. Let's little learn more about it. But I have no money to spare just now. All my ships are at sea. But I have plenty of money when they come back, so I'll borrow the money from Shylock, the money lender. Until then, so Antonio was such a great person. He was asked for help. He wanted to help him, but he did not have money. He said that all the money in the ship, in the sea. So don't worry, I'll borrow money from Shylock. But Antonio was a good fellow. He was a nice man. He was a very good person. That's why he told Antonio a number of times that do not take help from Shylock. He might put you in danger in some way or the other. Shylock the Jew was a miser, the best known money lender in Venice. He was not liked by the people because he was a hard man who demanded a high rate of interest and showed no mercy to those who could not pay back the money borrowed from him. So Shylock was a criminal. He was a very bad person. He used to lend money and at a high interest rate. And if any way the borrower fails to pay the money, he will punish him severely. So here, initially, he did not tell that he would give money to Antonio because there was enmity between him and Antonio. Still, later, his mind and he asked to give, he wanted to give money to Antonio with one condition. If he fails to get the money back to him before the time is over, 1 pound of flesh will be taken, cut off from any part of Antonio's body. And that was a very serious condition. So Antonio could not understand it, but Bassanio understood it. And he told Bird, Antonio pleaded Antonio not to take money from Shylock, but Antonio was very sure that his money would very soon come. But can you guarantee when the ship is in the sea, the ship might get drunk, sink, whatever might happen unless you have it right in your hand. So a dove in bush is nothing, right? A dove in your hand is everything. So the money in your hand is everything. When you do not have money in your hand, you cannot guarantee that you get your money when the time comes. So he was not liked by the people because he was a hard man who demanded high rates of interest and showed no mercy to those who could not pay back the money borrowed from him. Now Shylock hated Antonio partly because Antonio showed his dislike for Shylock's hard character, but chiefly because Antonio himself lent money without asking any interest on it, and that of course spoiled Shylock's business. So Shylock waited for the day when he could harm Antonio. Not knowing that Shylock hated him in this way, Antonio went with his friend Bassanio to borrow 3,000 ducats. I shall be able to pay it back with interest, said Antonio to Shylock, as soon as my ships come to port. As you know, they are now at sea and will shortly arrive home with valuable cargoes. At first, Shylock seemed unwilling to lend the money. Your ships may be destroyed by storms before they reach Venice, he said, and then he will be unable to repay the money. But as they talked together, the clever, wicked Jew thought of a way of harming Antonio. Why should I lend you any money? He asked, turning to Antonio, when you were always calling me a dog and treating me with scorn. However, I'm willing to be friends with you, and as you sometimes lend money without asking any interest, I'll do the same for you to show that I too can be friendly and generous. He wanted to show that Antonio did not get any interest from any borrower, so he wanted to give Antonio free of interest. Sometimes happen that you have your hair cut, you pay for the money, but some barber goes to another barber and has his hair cut, then the barber doesn't charge him any money. It's just a kind of relationship, friendship. a kind of respect from profession to profession. Anthony was very surprised to hear the money lender's kind offer. Then Shahrukh went on, just for a joke, Anthony will agree that if you do not repay me, I shall take a pound of your flesh to be cut from any part of your body that I choose. So he had a serious hoodwink. He was such a clever and harmful man. He said that it's a joke. It was serious, but he told that it's a joke. If you fail to get the money back in time, on time, I'll have 1 pound cut off your body, any part of your body. Antonio laughed and agreed and seemed much amused by the whole business. Bassanio told Antonio not to agree to Shylock asked, but Antonio treated the whole matter as a joke. So the three men went to a lawyer and signed a paper to say that if Antonio did not repay Shylock the money within 3 months, Shylock was able to Shylock was to be allowed to cut off a pound of flesh from any part of his body he chose. Antonio then took the money from Shylock and gave it to Bassanio. Bassanio now bought some fine clothes, collected some servants, and prepared to visit Beaumont, where Portia lived. So now he got the money, 3,000 ducats. That's why Bassanio bought some fine clothes, he collected some servants, and he prepared to visit Beaumont, where Portia lived. And now Portia's father, before he died, had thought of a plan for helping his daughter to choose the right husband. He had 3 small boxes made of different metals. So Portia's father understood that Portia will have every money that the father belongs, and Portia is a beautiful girl. Everyone will be trying her to marry her. And as she was a girl, as she was a young girl, she might make a mistake. She might not choose the right partners. In Bangladesh, what happens? Girls are now free. They choose their partners. And what happens? After the marriage, the problem arises. Why? Because the girls don't know how to choose a right partner. So in this drama by William Shakespeare, Shakespeare made us very careful that a girl should not have the power in her hand, the ability to choose right. That's why the father, the mother, the elders will choose a partner for her so that the partner is really a perfect one, as perfect as possible. He had 3 small boxes made of different metals. The first was of gold, the second of silver, and the last of lead. So the father made 3 boxes, and one was of gold, second one was of silver, and the third one was of lead. And there will be one photograph of Portia, and anyone who chooses the right pot can marry his daughter Portia. One of them contained a picture of Portia. It was her father's wish that his daughter should marry the first man who rightly guessed in which box the pleasure picture lay. But each man must promise that if he guessed wrong, he would never ask any woman to marry him. So he had a condition. Anyone can try for the luck. Suppose you have a teaching position, you have to have certain level of proficiency. Unless you cannot apply for it, if everybody applies for the job, what happens? You cannot separate all those people from the right ones. So here, that's the thing Portia's father did. He gave a condition. You can try to choose a pot if it contains the photograph of his daughter Portia, he can marry. But one thing, if you try, you have to promise that you cannot marry a girl after you have failed here without the consent of the girl. If a girl comes forward to marry, we can marry. But you cannot marry a girl by proposal. Of course, you cannot give proposal. Many men, when they heard about this, went away without daring to guess at all. Of the few who had tried, none had so far guessed right. One of them, a prince from Morocco, had chosen the golden box because he thought that the golden box might have the photo of Portia, but he was wrong because he thought that only gold was good enough to hold a picture of anyone so beautiful as Portia. But when he opened it, he found a terrible picture of death inside, so he went sadly away. The next man to guess was the Prince of Aragon in Spain. He liked the look of the silver box on this box were written the words, "Who chooses me will get what he deserves." These words pleased him, for he thought to himself, if it would be a good world if everyone got what he deserved. And if I do not deserve to win this lady, I have no right to marry her. But surely I do deserve her. Let me see. He opened the silver box, but when he looked in, he saw a picture not of the beautiful Portia, but of a mad fool. So he went away disappointed too. After several men had come and gone away disappointed, Portia heard that Bassanio had arrived. There came with him a friend called Gratiano. So he who was in love with Nerissa, Portia's maid, he had come to ask her to marry him, just as Bassanio had come to ask Portia. Interesting thing. Portia was so precious, so Bassanio came to Portia to try his luck to get married to Portia, and with him his friend came Gratiano. He also was in love with Nerissa, that is Portia's maid. So Portia should be Bassanio's wife and Nerissa should be his friend's wife, and Nerissa is Portia's maid. When Bassanio arrived, Portia received him very kindly, for she liked him far more than any of the other men, and she was ready to marry him, so she felt worried and anxious to think that he, like the others, would probably choose the wrong box. Indeed, she begged him to wait for a while before choosing. But Bassanio said that he would prefer to do it at once. He too was shown the three boxes of gold, silver, and lead. Bassanio considered for a long time before choosing. Either the gold on the silver box must be the right one, he thought. But no, so many people and things try to make themselves look fine and beautiful when they are really ugly and bad. I'll choose the lead one. Portia watched him make the right guess with joy and delight, and with quick joy Bassanio opened the box and saw inside it the picture of Portia. Bassanio then turned to Portia to see if she too was as pleased as he was, for he was still not quite certain that she wished to have him for her husband. And once Portia told him of her love for him, she then took a ring off her finger and gave it to Bassanio, telling him that if he ever gave the ring away, their love would come to an end. Bassanio accepted the ring with joy and said that he would guard it as if it were his life. In this way, Portia and Bassanio promised to be faithful to each other. Interesting thing. Portia even liked Bassanio, so she was also thinking if Portia could marry Bassanio, should be happy. But the situation tells that he must go to the game. If he wins, she wanted him to win the game, and she was very happy when Bassanio chose the right one. Previously thought that everybody would try for gold, everybody would try for silver, so he thought that it would be lead that could hold the photo of Portia, and he was right. So she offered him her ring and told, if you lose it means you lose me, if you keep it